Well, more on the news that earlier this year, US forces trying to rescue James Foley and other American hostages being held in Syria. Joining me from San Francisco in California is a Middle East analyst, Arash Aramesh. What more do we know about this rescue attempt?
Apparently, a few dozen American special forces were dropped by helicopter into Syrian territory that is held by ISIS or the Islamic State. And there was some firefight between American soldiers and ISIS fighters. Apparently, a U.S. soldier was injured in the process, but unfortunately, they couldn't find these hostages that were supposed to be there in that site. ISIS has many sites in which they held hostages in Syria and now in Iraq, but because in the Raqqa province in Syria, that is their capital, there's a much higher likelihood that they keep their hostages in fortified locations in Raqqa. Again, unfortunately, this did not help the slain James Foley, who was brutally murdered by ISIS. There are others still in captivity. Austin Tice has been in captivity for about 2 years, and Stephen Sotloff, another journalist that's ISIS very recently made threats against his life.
So what effect will the beheading of James Foley have on US policy when it comes to Iraq and also Syria?
If ISIS is doing this to prevent American military involvement or action against the terrorist Islamic State, well, they can be rest assured that this will have the exact opposite impact. President Obama had a very stern message, and in months, this was probably the toughest message coming from the White House. It was at Martha's Vineyard. He came out. He gave a very tough message to ISIS. This ideology serves no human need. It's not fit for humanity, and that he will, from that speech, we can conclude that the president will take further actions. But again, this sort of thing has now proven that they are killing Americans. They have killed an American citizen. Unfortunately, what's even more threatening is that about 1,000 foreign fighters, European fighters with European passports, this is EU passports, are fighting there, and this is going to be the greatest threat if they come back home. Attorney General Eric Holder said recently that one of the greatest threats facing us in the U.S. and you in the United Kingdom is the return of these terrorist jihadis who hold a few American passports but hundreds of European and British passports.